These teachings of the Living Light philosophy were given through the mediumship of Mr. Richard P. Goodwin. Spiritual Awareness Class, CC 5.
To start down there with Group 5, who didn't get a chance to ask their questions last Thursday. So Group 5, do you have any questions this evening?
Futility and suspicion being the balance points of logic, and when they are out of balance, we express anger in the function of resentment. I don't have too much difficulty seeing credulity and suspicion as the balance points of logic. However, getting it down to anger through the function of resentment, I would appreciate a little clarification.
Yes, certainly. I'll be happy to share with you our understanding. It is a characteristic of the human mind to resent that it is suspicious of, or to resent that they are easily imposed upon. Whenever someone imposes upon us, it causes the mind to begin to be resentful. Now, this resentment takes place in the depths of our inner mind, and it comes out into the conscious mind as anger. And this is why he states in that particular discourse that this anger is given birth in the function of resentment. Now, as I said, when we are of a suspicious nature and we're suspicious about this or that, and that is not balanced with the credulity, which is logic, then we do have this resentment beneath the conscious level. But it does express as anger, because it is an emotion, as we all know. Does that help with your question?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else in Group 5? Yes, would you rise, please? In the practice of meditation, the more often you do it, does that make it easier for you to reach a level known as peace? Yes, that we practice, like playing the piano, it would come easier to us in time. However, I am sure that this class especially will note one particular thing. The meditation periods are very short. In the other two courses, they were much longer. We had different vibrations. Now, a person, when they need to tap this great power, when they have the need that moment, not 2 hours later. Consequently, we're trying to help these students in this particular class to be able to touch the spirit of spontaneity, so that when you need peace and you speak the word forth into the universe, knowing that it shall not come back to you void, but accomplish that which you send it to do, that the reaction will be spontaneous and instantaneous. Now, it is a known fact that whenever we set a law into motion, the sooner it comes back to us, it reveals to us our level of awareness. The more aware we become, the sooner the reaction bounces back to us. And so it is that we're trying to teach the students in this class the spirit of spontaneity. You shouldn't have to take an hour to get into a state of peace. If you need peace, you need it in that moment. You don't need it an hour later. Consequently, when you sit down into your meditation, if you train yourself, you will be able to touch this great power in that moment and in that instant. And when you think peace, then peace will manifest for you. So it is a matter of practice and demonstration to oneself. We do not recommend that you do meditation more than once a day. You could go into a silent period at any time through the day and night. What happens when you go into a silent period and you think of peace? You will touch that moment of peace that you are establishing in your daily meditation. Does that help with your question? Now, Group 6, please.
I think in my daily meditation, which is early in the morning, I find that peace because nothing disturbs me. I need peace at work, and where I'm disturbed all day, and just the minute I get seated, somebody wants me, and I'm running back and forth and all over, and aggravating things, as it were. Now, do we just put our mind on peace if you're walking or if you're talking? I mean, you can close out.
Absolutely and positively. The moment you think and speak the word peace, then you are at that moment in that level of awareness.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. If you have established in your daily meditation this awareness to this level of peace, which is the power itself or God, and you speak that word forth into the atmosphere, and your minds are united, that is, your conscious and your subconscious mind are in harmony, you will touch the peace that passeth all understanding the moment that you speak it. That is the purpose of these spiritual awareness classes, because we need peace during the course of all these day-to-day acts and activities. We're constantly being triggered, if we want to be triggered, to the level of people that we are associating with. You see, we're going up and down through all these levels, not day by day, but moment by moment. You can be miserable in one moment and you can be joyous in the next moment. So you see, it's all taking place inside of us. But it's from a matter of losing self-control that we have become brainwashed and influenced by people and circumstances around and about us. We automatically react. We don't stop. We don't pause to enter that level of peace. Does that help with your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Group 6?
For a few weeks, I've been thinking about this faculty of tolerance and its function of friendship.
Duty, gratitude, and tolerance.
And the one that goes with tolerance is friendship. The function is friendship. Is that right?
What was dated the other week? All right, well, the class chair, and I'm sorry to keep you waiting. This is very important, you know. God gave us a mind to think with. And it's on page 47, the lady says. Now let us check page 40. Read the part in reference to the faculty.
We should like to carry on at this time with a bit more discussion on the functions and faculties, with the first faculty being duty, gratitude, and tolerance, corresponding to the counterbalance of the function of self, pity, and friendship.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Now everyone now knows that it's on page 47. Duty, gratitude, and tolerance, self, pity, and friendship. Fine. Now the question is, what does friendship have to do with tolerance?
That's the one.
Is that the question?
That's the question.
All right. Now, you see, I'm sorry to take so long with this particular question, but it's very important, you see, because the answer is given in the book. But if we do not study the book and find it, then it's not going to benefit us. Now, the statement was made by this particular teacher that true friendship, being use and not abuse, respects the right of difference and will weather any storm. Now, without tolerance, you understand, there is no friendship. It does not exist. Because if you don't have tolerance, you cannot respect the right of difference. Man cannot respect any differences that he views without tolerance inside of himself. For example, many people feel that they have great trouble with being tolerant. The difficulty is not being tolerant with others. The difficulty is being tolerant with our own levels, because the levels that we cannot tolerate in another person, we have not yet educated in ourselves. So the process is a self-education and a self-disciplined one. Now, the lady is asked, why is tolerance the function? Why is the function friendship? Do you have a clear understanding of why that function is friendship? Go to the other two points of that faculty.
Duty and self, and gratitude and pity.
Gratitude and pity.
And the other one, I'm sorry, I haven't read the whole book, and I haven't come to the discussion in the book on tolerance and friendship. I'm not through the book.
Yes.
But I was thinking about it because I thought about it in the sense that in friendships you would be tolerant. But then there came to me the thought that I have probably been a friend, and I probably have known other people who have been friends, and there hasn't been tolerance, and still we're friends. And this kind of confused me. I think that there is a possibility.
There is friendship because you tolerate the right of difference. If you do not tolerate the right of difference, there is no friendship. Do you respect their right to be different?
Oh, yes, I respect that. Yes.
Therefore, then you have friendship.
But when I was thinking about it, it came to me that there are cases of friendship where there isn't tolerance. There's great abuse, and still there's friendship.
But is that friendship? Is something else?
True friendship, being use and not abuse, respects the right of difference and will weather any storm.
I think it's Discourse 21. I got a little understanding of tolerance, and would you clarify that neutrality is a law of love in operation, and I carried that with me all week. That gave me a terrific...
Neutrality is a law of love in operation, absolutely and positively, because God, the divine, is the greatest servant of all. Totally neutral. It's not partial in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. That really gave me an anchor all week. I love that.
Thank you very much. Now, let me come to Group 7 is the next group up. Group 7, do you have any questions this evening?
Something, too, when I worked on that tolerance level in regard to friendship, I found out that as I grew, I became more, I wasn't starting to do judgmental trips on myself, and therefore I couldn't do the judgmental trip on the friend. And I started feeling a great acceptance and gratitude of everything beautiful and good in the friend. And that is you know.
That indeed is you.
About the thought images that we create. And it occurred to me, and I want to be, to clarify it, it seems to me that in my morning meditation, it's a very fine area of peace and beauty. And we cannot really expect on this level to maintain that the whole day, or I don't think we'd be on this level for very long. But I have found, and I think I'm approaching it right, I'd like to be corrected if I am not, I like to imagine my own auric bubble as being a golden rose, I guess, that I would see, and white. And I like to know that it's there during the day, whether I can see it or not. And when I get home at night, I like to sit quietly and try to regain that clarity of my bubble. And I find that the more I practice this, the easier it becomes.
Absolutely, it's most beneficial. Definitely. Anyone else in Group 7?
Well, going again to the first faculty, is it possible that it is not possible to dissect the triad? I mean, in other words, if you try, you have to take the three as three.
Absolutely. They are inseparable. All faculties, all functions are triune, and they are inseparable. They are manifestation in the three. They are inseparable. Duty and gratitude cannot be separated from tolerance, no more than tolerance can be separated from duty and gratitude, and it is the same thing with the function, which is its opposite. I'm sure that will help clarify things to the class with a little bit more study. Anyone else?
Talking on the function of pity, I know when you read this, I know you corrected it too, I was aware of the word. It was not self-pity. Pity was the function. Pity is pity on one side and compassion on the other, and that there is a difference. The compassion is a faculty.
And pity is a function.
A negative. In other words, compassion is positive and pity is negative.
Absolutely. Definitely. Now, when you read that function, you read pity, and what else?
Self.
And?
Friendship.
Pity, self, and friendship. Think about that, class. It's very, very important. It'll broaden your horizons. When you think of friendship, think of pity and think of self. They are inseparable. Give it a little thought. We'll discuss it more next week unless some of you have questions on it at this time. Remember what faculty is its opposite. Why does man seek a friend? What is the motive? What is the motive for seeking friendship? Anyone have the answer? The motive, if we look at friendship, is exactly what friendship is. Use and not abuse. Friendship is a mutual sharing with a responsible respect for the right of difference for the friend to share or not to share at any given moment. That is my understanding of true friendship. There is an exchange of energy that doesn't take place 24 hours a day. In fact, if you want to lose a friend, just live with them a while. All right, class, let's go on now. Group 1, do you have any questions in Group 1, please? Give it some thought.
This is changing.
That's fine.
I'd like to ask for some clarification on the law of karma, or cause and effect. We're taught here, as you sow, so shall you reap. Is this a literal kind of thing? For instance, if somebody, if I stole a book, could I expect that someone would literally steal a book from me?
No, but you could expect the fulfillment of the law of stealing. It wouldn't have to be a book. The law would be equal to the energy that was taken from you. For example, if you stole a book for someone, and that caused that person 50% energy release into the emotional realm and disturbance, you would receive an exact 50% drain of your energy in some area through the law of stealing.
Now, how does this relate to where we finally wind up when we pass over to the spirit world?
How does it relate to the location or what we have done here and now? Yes. What we are doing here, this moment, is not only affecting our physical life in this material world, but it is affecting our mental plane, our mental life, and our spiritual life. And it's doing that here, now, this very moment. Things of the Spirit are not only discerned by the Spirit, but they are composed of spiritual substance. When the faculties, when the energy, this divine power, is expressed through the faculties, there goes out into the atmosphere a spiritual substance. This spiritual substance builds, so to speak, our abode in the world of spirit. Therefore, the teaching is to balance these faculties with the functions, because you're going to go to another dimension. You can go there this instant, you understand, if you will open your eyes and your ears and your senses, and you will see whether or not you're on some desert someplace, there's not even a drop of water, because that's all the energy that has flowed through your soul faculties. So a wise man says, fine and dandy, I'm going to get myself into balance, and I'll put 50% energy into this world that I'm aware of, this gross physical world, and I'll put the other 50% into this other dimension that I don't see right now, but I'm destined to see at any moment. You know, we're going to see it either by awakening our spiritual sight while in this flesh, or by leaving this flesh, you understand, and then we're going to see it. Now, why is it that when we leave the physical body, we view this mental dimension or astral or spiritual world? Well, it's very simple. This thing known as the brain is the cloud that's over our vision. The longer we entertain thoughts that are self-orientated, the longer we entertain thoughts of this gross material world, that is the difficulty in us piercing into the other dimension, sensing and feeling these finer vibrations. And so it's up to us to make the changes. But what we're doing here and now is building not only our material world around and about us, but right here and now we're building our spiritual one. Let's hope we're all building in both dimensions. Does that help with your question? Thank you. Anyone else in group one?
We have a statement in the book that God is neutral. It's a very fascinating thing because when I was a little boy, and almost all organized religion teaches that God is over here and hell and the devil are over here, and there's a big battle going on all the time. And lately everybody said that God is dead because if God existed, that he would not allow all the terrible things to go on in this world that are going on. And the book says that God is neutral, which brings up so many things. It's very fascinating.
Yes. And one of the greatest things that ever happened was when Time magazine came out on its cover and said that God was dead. Because the God of the past, and unfortunately or fortunately of many people of the present, is a God of duality. Now, duality we understand and know, and it is demonstrable that duality is creation. And so if we entertain in thought a God of duality, what we are in truth doing is entertaining a God of creation that we have created in our minds. Now, that's a mental God. Having a beginning, those mental gods, they're going to have an ending. And so now here in this age of light of the Aquarian age, we've come to an understanding that God is neutral. This is the first understanding I had of a neutral God is when the old man brought it about in those discourses. I've yet to read it anyplace else, but I'm sure that it must be somewhere because truth is one. However, remember, if God is neutral, and that is the teachings of the living light, if God is neutral, and we are neutral or balanced, then we're going to be in God. And so it stands to reason that if we balance our lives, we balance these faculties and these functions, we don't annihilate them, we balance them, then we're going to be flowing in God, and God is everything. So we'll have no obstructions in our path if we will just remain neutral. Does that help? I'm sure. You see, as long as man entertains created gods, a God that's good has to have its opposite of bad. A God of joy has to have its God of sadness. And on through the entire spectrum of human relations. So let us be more neutral, and then we can be at peace. And being at peace, this power will just flow unobstructed and accomplish its great good. Yes, it is the understanding of serenity that God is neutral. God doesn't start war. God doesn't end war. How can he end what he doesn't start? God didn't begin creation, and God doesn't end creation. The law is totally impartial. The electricity flows through the light bulb. It doesn't care whether it's red, green, purple, yellow, or white. It is not concerned. It has no concern. The divine power known as infinite intelligence just flows through form. Why is man good, if you can call it good? Remember, one man said, I'm very good. Person over there says he's an SOB. because good to one is bad to another, and so we go through all this insanity of duality. We can't find peace that way. Millions and billions of people have tried to find God through creation. You don't find truth or God till you can separate truth from creation, and then you look and see that the divine power flows through everything, everywhere, at all times, in all places. It had no beginning, and by that law of no beginning, it cannot end. So remember, our God is ever equal to our understanding at any given a moment. And when all of religion comes to that awakening, there'll no longer be any battles in the world, for there'll be nothing to battle. We've always been, we'll always be, so what's the sense of fighting about it?
The final one.
Yes.
Will
Well, remember, finality is beginning.
Will there ever be this understanding of religion?
Will there ever be this understanding of religions? Is on its way. In fact, it is taking place in many areas that are not seen by the physical sight and the physical hearing or senses. Yes, the God of neutrality has come to man, and it is here to stay. Absolutely. But remember, the understanding of a divine neutral power can be most detrimental to anyone who does not have a degree of self-control. Because the first thing they do with that great understanding is to put it into license instead of freedom. And when you put it into license, you guarantee bondage and destruction. I can say, from what has been given to me over the years, that the understanding of a divine neutrality that is totally neutral was one of the basic causes of the sinking of Atlantis and Lemuria, because it was abused instead of used. But remember, it's like electricity. If you don't use it according to the law under which it operates, it will electrocute you, it'll destroy you.
I'm not exactly sure how to put this, but you made a reference to like the age of Aquarius coming in.
It's already here.
The law or the science of astrology, is that part of like the cause and effect, or is it a science that, that is truthful without the universe, throughout the universe?
The science of astrology, when properly understood and applied, is the science of mathematics, and mathematics is the key to the universe. Whether they call it astrology, astronomy, or some other ology, it doesn't make any difference. If it is used correctly and understood, it is the key to the universes. Yes.
What is the meaning of this being the age of Aquarius instead of the age of something else?
The meaning of the age of Aquarius instead of something else has to do with astronomy, or what you want to call astrology. Either one, it doesn't make any difference. The planets are in space, and they're revolving in certain ways. It is a mathematical calculation. And each age offers to this particular earth realm at any given time certain vibrations. At the present age, man, this is the age of air. This is the age of communication, because it is the Aquarian age. All things dealing with the element air will be revealed to this earth plane in these coming centuries.
Is there like the mind?
Yes. Thought travels through what you call air, space. Any other questions? I asked you a question at this time. She guaranteed the law by speaking it forth.
We were talking tonight about
compassion, this accident that happened, and someone said to me, this is I don't concern myself with these people who have passed on through accident or Holocaust or whatnot. I just don't think about it. And I said, well, compassion is a faculty, and we must have compassion because these people will awaken in the spirit world, and they will be so confused that by our feeling compassion for them, sending out a prayer for their enlightenment and being put on the path, will help them. Is this not so?
I'd like to make some clarification in regards to your statement. Compassion being a soul faculty does not interfere with the divine law of cause and effect. Now, for example, compassion sees the law that has been set into motion. Do you understand? It is a soul faculty. The soul faculties are light. The sense functions are darkness. Now, for example, you cannot have compassion, true compassion, without consideration. Would you agree?
Yes.
Do you agree that you can't have compassion without consideration?
Well, consideration to me would be compassion.
All right. Now, you can't have consideration unless you have reason. Because how can one consider something that they cannot reason? And you cannot have reason without total consideration or compassion. Therefore, if someone has what appears to be an accident, number one, there are no accidents in the universe, and reason knows that. Reason knows that there is a cause for all things. Would you not agree?
Yes.
Reason knows that if we have what appears to us to be an accident, it is nothing more than an effect of a law that we have set into motion somewhere along our path. Would you not agree?
I do agree to that, yes. I know that what I have happened to me either way
has been caused by you. And therefore that law applies to you, and would you not grant that divine just law to every form?
I would, but I still feel compassion for them.
One can have compassion without interference. That's the difference.
Now I get it, yes.
If we interfere with the effect of a divine law, then we're in the function. We're not in the faculty. That's not quite clear to you yet. I have a lot of hands raising.
Is it that you should or shouldn't have compassion?
Oh, God forbid, I do not teach that you should or shouldn't have it. We all have it if we want to express it. That is our divine right of choice.
But I couldn't understand what you were getting at, saying, going backwards to reason.
I can have compassion for two animals killing each other, one killing the other one. And I can have reason not to interfere and get myself torn up in the process. What I am saying is, if you have true compassion, soul compassion, then you have consideration. And if you have consideration, you have reason. Now, for example, if you see two people out there murdering each other, do you go up there and interfere and say, just a moment, you don't do that, and get killed yourself in the process? Now, if we have pity, we'll just zoom right in there. If we have compassion, we'll have the reason, and reason will say, tell you what to do. Why? Keep faith with reason, she will transfigure you. Reason will show the way. Reason is the light of the soul. The God I understand is a God of reason, which is total consideration.
Will flows through the function, or through the functions on the physical level, as I understand it. The will. Thus, if we look at something, a situation in a so-called accident or whatever, on the physical level, through the function, then we are, in effect, imposing our will on another.
Absolutely. Definitely and positively. Thank you very much. I'm sure that'll help many. Now, is there anyone else in group 6? And then we must get over to groups 3, 4, and 5.
It states that the faculties are of a higher consciousness than the function.
The question is, are the faculties of a higher consciousness than the functions?
No. It seems that.
It seems that.
It seems that. And that faculty overcomes the function, or it's better to use the faculty than the function for what is instead it seems that you've been saying now. And then how do you get a balance?
No, that is not the teaching. The teaching is not that the faculties are, what did you say, a greater aware?
They're soul.
They're higher.
They're the soul. And
they are of the soul. But remember, our soul, our spirit is encased in form, in the soul, and in the mental body, and the physical body, the astral bodies, and all those other bodies. So, remember that a man uses balance in all things if he is wise. We have functions in which our soul may express itself in a physical dimension. The teaching is not to annihilate or downgrade the functions. The teaching is to balance each function with its corresponding soul faculty. Now, for example, procreation is a function. But remember, its birth is in the soul to procreate the race, the species. So you see, the function serves a good purpose if it is under the light of reason, which is the corresponding soul faculty. Now, if you will study in the faculties and functions that have been given in the book, for example, in order that you may not become controlled by creation, which is form, each function has a corresponding soul faculty. So if you will direct your attention, which is your energy, equally through the corresponding soul faculty, you will have balance while yet in creation. You will be in this world and you'll not be a part of this world. You will be with things and you'll never be part of things, because 50% of you is in the function and 50% is in the counterbalance of the soul faculty.
At the same time that you're going through the faculty, or you're putting forth, the function, either putting forth the function, a part of you is still is in touch with...
Absolutely. It's known as divided attention. When they split the atom, you have power. When the attention is divided, you have balance. Think of it.
Yes, I have to really ponder that, because it comes out.
If you have meditation without concentration, you're out of balance. If you have concentration without meditation, you're out of balance. You see, this is why he teaches the students to have concentration, meditation, and manifestation. There you have your Trinity. There you have your creation. And so it is with your functions and soul faculties. Divided attention. Divided attention keeps you unattached. And the teaching is to be with all of these things and not be a part of them. And you cannot be with them and not be a part of them unless you have your energy split or your attention divided at the time. At the time of expression. Otherwise, you're going to become attached. That's man's problem. He's attached to one emotion after another. Yes?
Excuse me. We went to this last weekend, and I thought we had decided it was all right to be attached. That we needed
the only thing,
in order to work through them.
The other thing that we decided, to my recollection, last Thursday, was we were discussing that attachment guarantees adversity, and adversity guarantees attachment, so why be attached because you're going to be adverse, and why be adverse because you're going to be attached? Don't you see?
No, I don't, because I thought the purpose of our being here was to free ourselves from attachment.
That is our purpose.
Well, then,
Our
if we don't have attachments, we can't learn to be free.
My dear friend, the moment the soul incarnated into form, the attachment was guaranteed. We're trying to get out of it, not to stay in it. We're trying to serve the purpose of the soul's incarnation in form. We set a law into motion that zipped us right into them. Yes.
We have them, and then the thing is, we don't have all the attachments when we come into this dimension, but we take on some more.
Every moment of every hour, we're garnering up more attachments. It isn't what we got to put into the mind that's freeing it, it's what we got to get out of the mind in order to free it. And so it is that we're constantly bombarded with attachment upon attachment and adversity upon adversity. He is trying to teach the students the path to freedom. Not tomorrow, not in eternity, but this moment, this eternity, this instant. And so he's trying to teach balance and counterbalance to keep us on the neutral path so that our spirit may flow freely at all times in all things. He does not teach good and bad. He does not teach, for example, that you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. He's trying to teach divided attention in all things. Keep your soul on the soul level and keep your spirit on the spirit level, your mind on the mind level, your body on the body level. But keep them all in balance. And by keeping them in balance, you will soar freely through time and space. The only reason that we're not aware of the great solar system right this instant, because we are a part of the entire solar system, is simply because we have not risen our soul to a solar consciousness right here and now. We can do that, but we first must let go of this bondage, this attachment that we have to this physical creation. Now, a person may say, I'm not attached to this physical world. Oh, my thoughts are way out there in space. Well, how long have they been out there in space? Maybe 6 months out of 60? Years? No. It's a daily practice. We spend how many hours and how many moments thinking about this mundane world? How many moments in truth do we really spend thinking about the universal consciousness? See, the point is not to have meditation once a day and think about this universal consciousness at the time of your meditation and then go out into this material mundane world and never think about it again until the next morning. That's ridiculous. You think about it moment by moment. You're out on a mundane job. I have just as much mundane work as anyone in this room. I know that is an absolute fact. Anyone questions me, I wish they'd come to the office and go through one of my days with me. I have exactly as much mundane work, if not more, as any student here. And yet, I make sure to keep my conscious awareness divided. Otherwise, this other part would go. It would disappear simply from lack of use. You know, lack of use is abuse. If you're a pianist and you don't play the piano for years and you get up to play it again, well, you hardly know how to play. Because lack of use is abuse of the talent that you have. So whatever your talents may be, use them. Don't abuse them. If you don't use them, they're not going to flow and they're not going to improve. You see, that's what we're trying to teach, is to be universal in your thought, and you will be universally expressing your own divinity. Don't think of this type of an understanding just once or twice a day. You're on a job doing bookkeeping. I do bookkeeping 7 days a week. You're on a job doing typing? I do typing 7 days a week. In fact, I learned to type in this association, coming right along. But my thoughts are not on that typewriter all the time, and they're not on all those figures all the time. They don't have to be. They don't have to be. You can be aware of more than one dimension if you and you alone will make the effort. But you've got to make the moment-to-moment effort. You've got to learn to be still so that you can hear. Learn to disassociate. He says here in his book, you want to awaken your clairaudience, you want to hear, well, learn to disassociate. Learn the law of disassociation. Disassociate from all of this stuff, and then you will hear. After all, I'm hearing on several dimensions. It's possible for everyone, but you've got to make the effort every moment. Now, we must get on to these other groups. They haven't had a chance to ask their questions, but...
How to hear better the conscience?
How can you what?
Hear better our conscience.
How can you hear better? How can you be, are you referring to hearing in other dimensions?
Either way, both ways, I mean.
All right. Now, that's a very good question. Now, remember that energy follows attention. Again and again, the teaching is the same. For truth is one, not two. And so the teaching is, whatever you place your attention upon, you have a tendency to become. If you want to sharpen the hearing, you want to learn to hear better, direct this energy through this power of will right here, direct it to the hearing. I just happen to be hearing the ocean's roar. Sounds like I got a shell up to my ear, but I directed it to my ears. Now everybody can do the same thing. But you got to blot out all of this stuff in that instant by directing your thought, your energy to your ears. You will hear much, much better. You're welcome. Now, group 2, did you have a question? Group 2, all right, then we're going back to the other side of the room. Group 5, no questions? Any groups in group 6, 7 over here? And I can tell, I see the question mark jumping up and down. Kindly rise.
I'm going to learn while I have a chance.
Well, I see that little question mark up and jumping up and down in front of you, and I was saying to myself, I wonder if that's a guide or just a question mark. And my spirit said to me, Richard, that's your mind.
I just wanted to talk about attachment again.
Attachment. Mm-hmm.
I seem to get an impression as I was sitting here, the families who are attached, and the Bible says the sins of the fathers. Just clarify, Lord. The sins of the fathers are visited on the children, and then I thought, my gosh, this is right.
Under the third generation.
Yes.
And why is it the third generation?
The Trinity, the three.
The manifestation.
I thought, I'm not a Bible student, but this just came so clear.
We are physical, mental, and spiritual. And those 3 levels must be worked out. And so unto the third generation are the so-called sins, which are nothing but errors invested unto the children. But remember that the children have merited that experience through laws that their souls have set into motion. Does that help with your question?
I can understand how we want to work away from attachment, but I've always felt that one of the most important things, principles of spiritualism, has been learning the interdependence of the all-soul and the coming together.
The interdependence of the all-soul. Now, we're talking about form now.
Well, I'm not sure. Is attachment, are you talking about attachments in relation to form? And I'm thinking of interdependence in relation to spiritual form.
Form is form regardless of what dimension form is expressing on. The first thing that we try to do in regards to attachments is to refine our attachments. Do you ever take a man that drinks or smokes and all of a sudden you stop that, it's an attachment. It's known as the law of transmutation, the law of replacement. So the first thing that spiritualism tries to do for the masses and the people is to refine their attachments. Not to say get rid of all your attachments because the people won't do it anyway. They've been in them too long. So what we have to do for them is to refine them and replace them with a higher vibration attachment. See, instead of attaching to this physical substance, well, now let's grow and we attach to a spiritual thing. You see? It's still form, I admit that, but you can't change them any other way. A slow growth is a healthy growth. So the first thing they start to do, they attach to the science of communication. They attach to guides and teachers and these other dimensions and etc. Then in time, we grow on, and then we attach to a universal consciousness. Don't you see? You cannot just break attachment. It's too gross. It's too locked in. When you move into spiritualism, what pulls the people to spiritualism? What is the light? What is the magnet that attracts them out of the atmosphere to spiritualism? It is the science of spiritualism. Without the science, we would not have the philosophy, for the philosophy came to spiritualism through its science. However, if a person coming into spiritualism in its refining process of their own attachments to the material world moves up to attachments to the spiritual forms and does not go beyond that to the philosophy, to the laws that govern all forms, then we have spiritist and spiritism. We no longer have spiritualism. And you cannot find the religion of spiritualism unless you balance its science with its philosophy. Because you see, it is one thing to communicate with another dimension, but it is a much wiser thing to understand through what laws that you use to communicate with those dimensions. So we must gradually refine our attachments. And remember, when we see the all, we will find the one. And when we find the one, we will be free because we will be all. So let us gradually, as we refine our attachments and we lose them, go to the oneness of the divine. And having done that, we will be free in all things at all times. Thank you. Good night, folks. Our time is past due. Let us go have refreshment.